Tax forms, tax code. Hey, tax day is certainly going to be upon us pretty soon. April 15th, right around the corner. And that takes us to this week's case. What happens when someone violates the IRS code? Well, let's talk about a real case, some real people. Married couple, two people, filed a corporate tax return. He prepared the tax return. She assisted in filing the tax return. Both of them combined resulted in their filing a tax return in which over $10,000 in taxes were not paid because of fraudulent statements they made on their tax return. Okay, well, they pled not guilty and they wound up having to pay a fine, and it was bad news for them. But the bad news didn't end there. No, these people were individuals who had immigrated to the United States. They were not naturally born citizens. And now up pops the immigration agency. And immigration says, hey, we've got two people here that committed a felony and they should be thrown out of the country. They should be deported. Whoa. A couple hung on and said, gee whiz, we never anticipated anything like that. And golly, this really isn't an aggravated felony, and that's what the tax code, that's what the law requires, that it must be an aggravated felony. Here, it was a violation of the tax code. I mean, when you talk about aggravated felonies, what are you talking about? You're talking about bank robberies, you're talking about, you know, hot pursuit and people shooting at each other, and sometimes, unfortunately, somebody getting killed or badly hurt. That wasn't what happened here. We simply filed some forms that resulted in, granted, a violation, technical violation of the IRS code, but hang on, nobody was hurt. Nobody was killed, it wasn't all that bad, and therefore we don't think it should be considered an aggravated felony. Well, that's what the court had to grapple with. That's what it had to grapple with. And this case went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Supreme Court took a look at it and they said, you know, the law is what the law is. And when Congress passed this law, they said people could be deported if, in fact, they violated a statute or engaged in any crime which was considered an aggravated felony. What is that? Well, it's when you've got over $10,000 involved. And here, there's over $10,000 involved. Here, the loss of revenue to the United States was over $10,000 because of the laws, the fraud that was committed in filing those tax returns. Therefore, at the end of the day, it's very simple. And that is, this is an aggravated felony. It wasn't a bank robbery. It wasn't a shootout. But it was an aggravated felony because it involved over $10,000, and yes, you can be deported. Okay, well, why do we bring you this case? We bring you this case because many times I think when we engage in conduct that we think isn't that big a deal, it becomes a far bigger deal because of the ramifications of either where we are, whether we are a naturalized citizen, or what we are engaged in at the time. Therefore, when we sometimes think it's not going to be a major issue, it becomes, unfortunately, a major issue. So what's the lesson to be learned? Hey, guys and gals, if you ever consider violating the law, be well aware of the consequences that may befall you for these violations, which at the time seem to be very simple, very, for want of other terms, innocent. If they're not innocent, it's a violation, and you unfortunately reap the consequences. Well, we bring you this case as we bring you cases every week, so you understand how the law works. I'm David Allen.